Welcome back to Mental Wellness Evolution. I'm Jeff. Thanks for being here. Tonight, we're talking the importance of holding ourselves accountable, okay, guys? So, when we start going about the processes of change, we start trying to want to do things a little bit differently and those types of things in our lives, we're going to have to learn to hold ourselves accountable. We need to start holding ourselves to a higher standard. I think this is such an important thing, too. And it's so valuable, I guess, too, guys, to have people around you that are also going to hold you to that elevated standard. And I've done talks in the past about surrounding yourselves with the right type of people. And this is where that starts to factor into it. Because when you start trying to change, you might have to remove yourself from circles because they're not going to go to the standard that you want for the rest of your life. You want to be around people who elevate you, who inspire you, who make you want to be better. And it's easy to get sucked back into old behavior patterns and the things that we know we shouldn't be doing if we're still surrounded in those circles with those types of people. So holding yourself accountable to just not go back to there in a lot of ways is where it can oftentimes start sometimes guys, okay? It's very important that we decide what we want. So we maybe need to sit down with ourselves and ask ourselves, like, what do I actually want to do? What do I want to accomplish here? You know, maybe there are things you want to do a little bit of an overhaul and like things like that in your life where you know things are taking you to a bad place. Then you have to hold yourself accountable to not go back there, because that's what it is, guys. It's a never-ending game, and it just turns into a horror show, and we just keep going back to the same types of things because we don't hold ourselves accountable when we don't do what we say that we're going to do, okay? Now, this is a very challenging thing in the process of change, guys, but if you're not going to change anything, if you don't set a standard and then start holding yourself to it. You want a better life, you have to decide what that better life looks like, then decide on the behaviors that are going to get you to that better life, and then hold yourself accountable when you aren't holding up to those types of standards, okay, guys? There's a lot of discipline factored into these types of things, guys, but if you're not willing to hold yourself accountable, you'll never change a damn thing in your life. You won't. If you just continuously make excuses, you always have a reason not to do it, you always have, oh, well, this or that or the other thing, you're not going to get anywhere. Now, this factors in, guys. There's obviously circumstances in life and things that happen. Like, I mean, for example, you want to hold yourself accountable with, say, a new gym routine, but then, you know, work gets chaotic and you don't have as much time, or you're working a ton of overtime and then you got to go to kids' hockey games. Okay, like, life happens. There's certain things that we can allow ourselves some grace when we're like, okay, well, this didn't necessarily work out the way I wanted it to work out today. But if you're consistently just like wanting to change, and you want to lose weight and you want to get yourself into shape, and you don't buy good food and you don't go to the gym, and you're constantly coming home every day and you're like, I'll start tomorrow, you're never going to get anywhere, guys. And that's just the cold hard reality, because change comes with holding yourself to a standard that people don't change because of that. It's not easy to change in life, guys. It's not easy. I can give you all the tips, tricks, tools, roadmap, everything else, but ultimately it's you who has to hold yourself to that level to actually go out and get the work done and be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and be like, okay, I lived up to that standard that I wanted to live up to. And even if we're not getting there every day, but we're making ground, because not every day is going to be the best day, guys. But we're moving the ship in the right direction. We start going in that right direction where we start, you know, slowly but surely we start making strides. But change is, like I said, guys, it's something that we have to commit to. It's not something that's just, you know, a 3 months change. Like, people do this with like crash dieting. You see it all the time. It's like, well, they're really, really good for like 2 or 3 months. They have no plan. And then once they're done, they don't hold themselves accountable anymore. And then what happens? You fall right back into the same old bullshit. It's gotta be a lifelong plan, guys. And it's like not something that stops, but that's why discipline is such a valuable thing to foster within yourself, because discipline is your own self accountability, but discipline pilfers down into every other aspect of your life. When you hold yourself accountable to a certain standard, and that standard will start creeping into every area of your life. You'll be good with your food, you'll be good with your diet, you'll be better in your relationships, you'll be better, you know, financially, everything. It all boats rise with the tide, guys, but it starts with us really setting the standard and then holding ourselves accountable when we don't live up to it. And that is even true in like relationships and everything. Like, you know, when we make mistakes, sometimes we have to go back and, hey, you know what, I screwed up, I did something wrong, I wronged a person, I said something to my partner in the heat of a moment or anything like that. We don't run away from that. We don't go back and go, oh, okay, well, I'll just push it under the rug. It's like, no, man up and go hold yourself accountable. We make mistakes, and mistakes are how we grow, guys. Okay, you're not going to be perfect all the time. Don't hold yourself to some ridiculous standard, but understand that mistakes are how we learn. And we don't want to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, because that's not growth. You're not going anywhere. If you're just making the same mistakes, you can write it off one time and say it was just a mistake, but at some point it becomes a choice. And if you're not holding yourself to a level and a standard, you're just going to keep going and making those same choices and making excuses for it, because you're not holding yourself accountable for it. There's nothing within you that's just like, oh, well, I want to actually change. Well, no, you have to actually do these things if you want to actually change. There's a roadmap that we can give you. You still have to show up and do the work. And I've said this even about going to therapy. People tend to think that you go see a therapist, it's just going to magically fix everything. Well, no. It's going to help you, but they're going to give you what you need to do, and then you have to do the work, and you have to be the one that shows up and holds you accountable, okay, guys? And that's why it's so useful, like I said earlier, guys. Find people around you that have that standard already there, and it's going to make it so much easier to rise to that standard. But you also don't want to be surrounded by yes men and people that are the same type of people that don't hold themselves accountable, because who's going to call you out on it when they see you screwing up in your life? Like, I'm a guy who hasn't drank and done hard drugs in several years now. If I all of a sudden started doing that out of nowhere, I know I have bros that would look at me and be like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, you're better than this. Why are you stooping to this level again? You worked hard to get out of here. Having those types of people around you is so very, very important, guys, because sometimes we do need a boost. Sometimes we do need a little kick in the ass and a reminder that, like, hey, man, you're screwing up here. Like, you need to get going on this type of thing. Get going on this type of thing. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. Empathy is a good thing to have. Guys come to you and they're struggling with stuff. Sure, we want to have empathy, but if people keep coming to you with the same problems over and over and over and over again, then there's no level of accountability within themselves. They already know the answers. And we do this ourselves. It's like, how many times have you wanted to change in your life and you knew the answers already, but instead of actually like implementing the plan, you made an excuse. You found some reason not to do it. We make excuses, guys. It's like, that's the enemy of growth. That's the enemy of change. Like, we have got to hold ourselves to that level, guys. It's like, you're at a standard right now. If you're looking at changing and maybe you're out boozing and doing those types of things, this is your standard. If your standard is somewhere up here, you need to decide on what it is that is going to hold you there, and then get your ass on the playing field and execute it every single day as best that you absolutely can. Again, it's not going to be perfect every single day, and we don't want to shame ourselves when we don't do it. But if you're still out there trying, you're doing the best you can, you're trying your best, well, that's a different thing, guys. When you can look in the mirror on a hard day and still say you did the best that you could, there's a level of accountability within that too, because we're all human too, guys. We all struggle. Things happen. Life is challenging. People have, like, we lose, loved ones in the world, or relationships happen, or, people get fired from jobs and stuff. It's like, it makes things very, very, very challenging. But those are the moments in life sometimes that we really need to find that little bit to go in, that we don't fall off, because that in and of itself can take us down that road. Like, I've worked tremendously hard to get to where I am in life, but I don't hold it and take it for granted for a minute, because I know something could happen tomorrow, and all that sudden that desire to go drinking and doing stuff to deal with those types of things is going to come back. And if I don't hold myself to that standard, it's pretty easy to get back down that road before you blink and you're gone, and you're off in the bushes again somewhere. Okay, guys? So start being accountable to yourselves, guys. Self-love is discipline. It is the ultimate form of self-love. It's delaying gratification and doing the right thing. That's a big thing about accountability, guys, is just doing the right thing. What is the right thing to do in this situation? When you're at a fork in the road, there's a right decision and there's a wrong decision. Vast majority of times, sometimes there is the gray area in the middle where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, but lots of times there's a fork in the road. What's the right decision? That's the right decision that I know is going to hold me accountable. That's the way we got to start doing. But the more you do that, guys, the more it goes easier to go down that road. We start building. Like, momentum is something I talk about so much because it's important. You start making changes and seeing results, going in the right direction. The encouragement is in there within yourself. It becomes a lot easier to hold yourself accountable. I don't have to be as accountable with going to the gym now than I did when I first started because it's a part of who I am. But this is a lifelong thing, guys, okay? It's not like we can be disciplined for 2 or 3 months and that's magically going to fix everything. No, we want to develop discipline because that's a virtue that we can carry forward for the rest of our lives, that's going to bleed into every other aspect of our lives and ultimately make us a better man. Okay, guys? So start holding yourself accountable. Decide what the standard is for you. And maybe you're just moving the bar a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. Like, we don't want to go crazy, guys. Maybe you can't go from here to here, but you can go from here to here to here to here to here and slowly make your way up there. But decide what that standard looks like and hold yourself to it. And find guys around you even and say, hey man, I'm looking to make changes in this. Like, I want you to boot me in the ass if I start slipping up and start going in the wrong direction. Call me. Because those are real friends, guys. A real friend is going to tell you when you're screwing stuff up. That's reality to it. Like, sometimes we all need some tough love, and I have these guys in my life and I'm grateful for all of them. So if you just got a bunch of yes men that are just like, man, whatever, man, we all blah, blah, blah over and over and over again, those aren't the type of people you want to be surrounding yourself with. So find those guys that are going to keep you more accountable in your life. And this is something, guys, the better you get at doing this, the better you're going to become as a man in every single facet of your life. Because I said, it's going to bleed out into absolutely everything. Okay, guys? So start holding yourself accountable. Have a great day.